Hello. Good evening. Looks like we do have Dr. Dan Kessler here. Hello, Dan. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
All right. So I know we recorded our French Open podcast some time back, and then we are at the men's semifinal, which is will start in a few hours with Alcaraz and Djokovic, and then we have Zverev and Rudd, and then we also have the women's singles final set between Swiatek and Haddad. But what I wanted to talk about today was something that shook the golf industry on Tuesday, I believe, when the PGA Tour and the Live Golf Tour merged, along with the DP World Tour as well. So, what I wanted to do quickly today was to touch upon um, the merger and the implications of what holds for golf. So maybe, Dan, I just want to set the stage for the listeners about what happened with Live Golf. Back in 2021, the Live Golf Tour came into existence under Greg Norman, backed by the Public Investment Fund, which is the Saudi backed league, and a lot of players, including Phil Mickelson, Kepka, DeChambeau, Ian Poulter, Bubba Watson, just to name a few, got huge prize monies to go to the Live Golf Tour. The PGA did suspend a lot of these players. They had to reapply, although they did allow them to play in majors. So money definitely talked, and a lot of the golfers went there. But meanwhile, golfers like Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm stayed with the PGA Tour. Um, and what happened on Tuesday, when the entire PGA community has been against the Live Golf Tour, it came as a shock that they would merge with Live Golf. So I'm going to pause here and then get your initial thoughts, and then maybe we can just discuss what's next for golf based on what we've been hearing so far. There is still a lot of things up in the air, but I wanted to get your initial thoughts on that, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, my initial thoughts, much like you, were that when I first heard about this on Tuesday as a headline, I thought maybe it was. I had to check my watch to make sure it wasn't April 1st. I thought it was like maybe a bad attempt at an April Fool's joke. It was just unbelievable when I first heard the news. I just did not see like everyone in the media and everyone on the PGA Tour, for that matter, they were blindsided by this. Basically, it was a backdoor deal, it sounds like, between the commissioner of the PGA, Jay Monahan, and the Saudi head of the Saudi PIF fund. Details are still probably going to emerge over the next few weeks as to how this deal was negotiated, and what the framework and the timeline was of this working out of this deal. But it sounds like nobody saw this coming. It was completely kept secret. So yeah, it was a complete shock initially when I heard about this. And like a lot of people have said, it was something that was going to happen eventually. They thought that the Live Tour would probably fold, would not stick around forever, but people probably projected 2-3 years down the road is when this kind of merger or collaboration would take place. Not at this point. It was just too early, too much ill will, really, still, I think, between the two tours. It seemed like. So yeah, so like I said, total shock. I want to get your opinion too as to how you think this, what motivated this deal, and how do you think it went down without letting any of the players know, without bringing other people in to kind of work things out with them as well.
Yeah, here's my 2 cents to that, for what it's worth, based on the articles that have been written, listening to the radio, the PGA radio today, a lot of Rory's comments when he was at the Canadian Open, how this went down. And you're absolutely right. There were a couple of meetings, maybe 2 to 3 meetings that happened between the PGA, pretty much backdoor meetings that happened with the Public Investment Fund. It all came down to money. Money talks all the time. The Live Tour uh, gave a lot of money to a lot of players. I mean, Phil Mickelson was, um, I think, lured from the PGA with like $200 million, I believe. And same thing with Dustin Johnson around the 150 million range. And I'm sure a lot of the other players got three-figure,
Yep.
millions, three figures in millions. The Live Golf Tour also gave the winner a $4 million check, and the last place finish was like $120,000 based on all the numbers I saw. The PGA was definitely um, has since changed since the Live Golf Tour came. That the players got more money. If there's anything that the Live Golf Tour did, was that the players in the PGA got more money. But one thing is very clear here: uh, money talks big, and the PIF also has some dealings with the Formula One where they spend billions of dollars um, to sponsor the Formula One racing. So it is nothing new in any sport. The one of the things I would be very clear is that when the Live Golf Tour was born, the PGA commissioner um, did go out on the airwaves, and I'm sure that you can go and find it out. Um, that this was a lot about sports washing. Um, and I don't want to get more into that at this point, but it all came down to money. The PGA was losing a lot of players, a lot of very important players. As a matter of fact, we just saw that Kepka just won a major. Um, and we have another U.S. Open coming up, I believe next week.
Yep.
So while they're all going to play, this is going to linger uh, during the entire tournament. Um, and Rory McIlroy was asked today about what happened, and he kind of resigned to the fate. He thinks this would improve the game of golf because there is more money coming into the game of golf, which means that the current PGA players will get some money. I don't know what that would be. Are they going to unionize? I have no idea. A lot of things are yet to be determined. So let's see what this happens. If they did say that this is going to improve the game of golf, maybe it's in the prize money because they do have a lot of money, and that may be good for the players. But right now, as of now, the players feel betrayed. That there was something I saw in the news that 90% of the players are not too happy about how this whole deal went down. Like you mentioned,
Yep.
this was definitely done behind their backs, and and they have to deal with it. And I think Monahan has to go on airwaves and defend this. I mean, I still remember that he went on TV with Jim Nance and made a big stink about the whole LI Live Golf. But here's where I see the winners and losers, right? The winners were definitely the players that left the PGA. They got big price sums. They still got to play in all the major tournaments. Number one. Number two, um, I would say the PIF. They get to earn now. They get to come in and invest in another sport. The losers at this point of time, you would think, would be the fans. But I do think that over the period of time, with more money coming into golf, I think things would be forgotten. Um, this would be like a little bit of a blur. So this is what I think about it. And any other thoughts that you have on this matter?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the fans are going to lose. I think it's going to work out great for us in the long term, getting to see guys like Kepka and DJ and DeChambeau playing once again. I mean, to be honest, I really didn't miss them that much. I still got to see them at the majors. I think the big tournaments, the way the PGA changed things this year, they made what's called elevated events, where they, the Travelers, the Memorial, the Players Championship, those events are all elevated with much higher purses, and it was mandatory for the top players on the tour to play in these events. So in the years past, you would see a lot of players take you get maybe 5 or 6 or 7 marquee names at the bigger tournaments, because guys have schedules where they only play once or twice a month at non-majors, but they were required to play at these big events. So even though we didn't have DeChambeau or Kepka, we still had all the top players: Morikawa, Scheffler, Rom, you name it, Zalatoris, all those guys, they were all there at the big events. So I did not miss most of these big names, to be honest. But it's going to be great to see more big names at these events. I don't think the fans will suffer. I think the losers are. I mean, you could say some of the big name guys who turned down the big money, the Justin Thomases, Jordan Spieths, Zalatoris, John Rahm, they probably could have cashed out to the tune of $200 million also, and then come back a year later. I mean, those guys, they still have generational wealth from all their endorsements over the years. They're going to be fine, obviously. Although I do feel bad for for them still a little bit, because the other guys, the Koepkas, DeChambeaus, they all got $100 million. Now they can just kind of wave it in their face and come on back to the tour. But it's more of the guys who are more of the journeymen, or like the kind of the maybe guys who are ranked, around 50, 60 in the world, who they probably could have got, 20, $30 million signing bonuses by going to the Live Tour. They turned down that money, and now they're just back to their kind of journeyman status once again on the PGA, having to make cuts and all that to make a living. So that's I think the losers are more of, we'll call it, the middle class crust of the PGA Tour, as opposed to the Spieths and Thomases, who have generational wealth already from all their endorsements and all that, I would say. So and then touching on the money, I think the PGA, what I heard also was they were forced into making this deal, Monahan, because number one, from the those elevated events with those huge purses, I think it was $20 million purses with $4 million to the winner. The PGA, I think, was going to be in some financial trouble. He was afraid, I think, going forward. And then number two, there was a legal aspect. A lot of lawsuits, I think, between the PGA and the Live were going on, and
Right.
they were worried about A, just paying all those legal fees going forward, and B, I think there were some secrets they said that were going to come out of the PGA Tour, some stuff that he didn't want to be known publicly. I don't know, no one knows what that is, but he was afraid that if they dug too deep, some stuff was going to come out that would not would not make the PGA Tour shine. So that's what I think motivated. Like you said, money, and I think the PGA Tour was struggling with those elevated purses. He was worried about that, the long term sustainability of it. So that's
Yep.
kind of my 2 cents on
No,
it.
excellent point there, Dan. And there's one more thing which I think I want to add before we end this podcast, because there is still a lot of more questions than answers that's going to come out, and I think we're just reacting to this just 2 days, literally, from the announcement of this merger. So there's more to come. One other thing that I did hear was that, and you alluded to this about the lawsuits. There is still a pending Justice Department investigation going on of the PGA.
Yep.
And from what I just read about it, that's not going to stop. So while this, everyone seems to say, yep, let's put this behind, let's move forward, this is the right thing for golf. And the golf is going to get better, because I think this is going to be also run by a profit thing. There's a separate nonprofit part of the PGA. There's a for-profit thing. I don't know what that actually means, because they've not really flushed out the details.
Right.
But the pending Justice Department investigation, that cannot be forgotten, and I don't know what that'll entail. So more to come, I would say. The one thing I do want to mention is that while we heard from Rory, I don't think we heard from Tiger, because I know Tiger was part of the earlier, like PGA was having both Rory and Tiger, be the face of the PGA Tour when this crisis was going on with Live Tour. So that's also another interesting thing that I've not heard anything from Tiger at this point.
Yeah.
So let's see where this goes. Like I said, we're only 48 hours removed from this merger. More details will come out in the next few days, and that'll give us an opportunity to react to it. And in the meanwhile, I know, Dan, we do have the U.S. Open coming, so there will be a U.S. Open preview that we will do for the audience as well. So for now, as I said, money talks, and I don't know what I want to call this podcast. Maybe call it Out of Bounds, maybe some suggestions there, Dan.
Yeah, I'll have to rack my brain over that one. Yeah, I mean, maybe just call it money, money, money. That's
Yes. Yes.
The money team. It all comes down to the Benjamin, as they say, you know. So
All
uh,
right.
you know, money, money, money. Yeah. So
All
that's
right.
I would caption it if I had to give you an answer on the spot.
All right. That's good. So with that, I think we'll call it a wrap, and then we'll come back with the French Open analysis, and then we'll get to the U.S. Open. So there's more podcasts to come here. All right. Thank you so much, Dan, for your time, and have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.